This interview is brought to you in association with Rabobank.
Produce from the New Zealand horticulture industry is now worth $8.7 billion a year, and of that, $5 billion is export income. It's a new record high. With me to talk about what's behind this growth and what may be to come is Dr. Bruce Campbell, Chief Operating Officer at Plant and Food Research. Bruce, welcome.
Hey, Roger. It's great to be here. Thanks.
Bruce, this is an impressive industry, and Fresh Facts has some pretty impressive numbers. We're talking about a sector that's now 10% of New Zealand's merchandise export income. Nearly 20% growth on last year. Big numbers for kiwi fruit, wine, both well over $1 billion, 1.7, 1.6 respectively. 690 million for apples. Where is this growth coming from?
Well, look, you're exactly right. It's fantastic to see the ongoing growth of the horticultural sector, Roger, and it really picks up on something that's a global trend. We're seeing a lot more interest from global consumers in horticultural products and plant-based products, and New Zealand's extremely well placed to capitalise on that with our focus on quality, on markets, on safe food for people. It's really positioned us very well, and I'm expecting that we're going to see ongoing growth and ongoing opportunity.
If we look at kiwi fruit, wine, apples, sort of those big three, I guess, for individual crops, are they all running the same formula, or is there something different about what each one of them is doing that's contributing to that growth for them?
Each industry's got its different strategy, but there's an overarching approach here which I think could be summed up as our New Zealand approach or a New Zealand provenance approach here. Obviously, Zespri markets very strongly on trust and quality and taste and safety. And we're seeing the same thing happening very much with apples. We're a trusted brand. We're a go-to brand as a country. And our apple success that we're seeing at the moment very much builds on those things as well. Same with berry fruit. It's an upcoming crop, but I think there's an opportunity to do a lot more with that as well.
There's a huge range of markets here, well over 120 markets that are consuming some form of New Zealand horticultural produce. And obviously the world population is growing, so the market's growing. But how much of this current success that the industry is seeing do you see as being about value or volume?
I think there's a bit of a combination of both. So we're talking about a value story, and that has to be a relentless focus for us in New Zealand, that we take our raw materials and we make sure that we're getting maximum value for them, and that the consumers are recognising the value of what we're offering. We do have a limited resource, and we've got to make sure that we extract the maximum value for that when we're producing food. But because of the success of this and the opportunities with these growing markets, we're also seeing increases in plantings, and we're seeing an increased overall volume as well as value.
I guess it's a question that's come up this week. A question about Kiwis' access and the value for a horticultural product that's worth a lot of money overseas and its accessibility to New Zealanders. What's the balance there for New Zealand in being massively successful and wealth creating in global markets versus making sure that there's food available at home?
Well, look, you're exactly right, Roger. There is a balance to be struck here. We have to be creating premium products that we are able to export and extract maximum value for. And at the same time, back here, we've got to make sure that we're providing healthy diets for our people and that they have access to high-quality food as well. And I think this is an area where science and innovation and growth in that offering can make quite a big difference in ensuring that we're managing waste carefully, that we're making sure that we get high-quality products through domestically at prices that are reasonable for people's budgets.
What about the ongoing role of R&D? It's been a big part in the growth that we've got to date. I understand that. What type of growth do you think it might actually spur in the future?
Well, we're certainly in plant and food research seeing a growth in investment by the industries at the moment in their future. I think success in exports and in short-term returns creates options and creates the opportunity for industries to invest more in their future. And the increased export returns are creating opportunity for them to invest more in R&D. And they really are recognising the imperative of doing that because the world's speeding up. There's a lot of new technologies that are starting to be applied to food production. new technologies, in particular in the digital and data space and robotics. And all of these are things that we have to be eyes wide open on and preparing ourselves for that sort of future so that we're not left behind as the world moves and marches on.
Any particular areas of R&D, that really spur your interest, where you think, hey, this is a real seam of gold that we need to mine?
Well, I think the whole question of being able to produce food efficiently and in a very high-quality way is really opening up a lot of opportunities for the likes of covered cropping and use of robotics in food production. So there's a very high-quality product provided, and circumventing to some extent shortages in labour that we might well face in the future. We've got a very efficient and effective labour scheme at the moment and people entering the industry. But over time, I'm expecting that we'll see that existing labour force complemented by more use of robotics and digital technologies to enhance their effectiveness. So people are becoming more technologists operating in the horticultural sector rather than necessarily just a source of labour. That's
a very interesting point. Agriculture generally persistently suffers from negative perceptions around the sophistication of the role. In horticulture particularly, can you give us some insight about maybe some of the roles that you think might emerge that are a little bit more high-tech than people would perhaps give the primary sector credit for?
Well, I think as we look for more and more efficient ways of harvesting solar energy, for example, the whole design of orchards may change, and where to date they've been quite structured around providing access to tractors, for example. We may well see much more dense plantings, much taller plantings, and use of newly designed robots to do a lot of the harvesting that are currently designed for sort of people on ladders and so on. So as we move into that space, people that may have been fruit pickers in the past could well be operators of this technology using handheld devices and a lot of things that you can see at times in the gaming industry at the moment, for example.
Now, we've focused so far on the big guys. They get a lot of the attention, kiwi, wine, apples. There are other sectors too. Onions is one that perennially surprises people. You know, there's $112 million of export onions. Are there any others that are coming up? You know, what are you picking as the next bets?
Well, one of the things that we're seeing, which is a trend we're watching quite carefully, Roger, is the whole growth of plant-based foods as alternatives to meat-based products. And nobody can really pick the future with any certainty there at the moment, but we're seeing a lot of substitute products where plant-based protein is being used at times as a substitute for animal-based protein. So we might expect growth in the area of legumes, for example, peas, which we currently have quite a significant export opportunity, but it's a smaller one that may well grow in the future. And also the area of nuts and the opportunity to harvest nut oils and proteins and actually use them in future foods. So there may well be a different sort of offering on our plates in the future, maybe a more diverse food offering, and that will open up opportunities for new types of horticultural crops to be grown in greater volumes and with greater value.
Do you think then, as we see consumers blurring the lines about plant versus animal origin for foods, are you suggesting that we'll actually see a more of a blurring of the lines in the production environment as well as on the plate?
It's a very interesting question. As we're seeing more diversity in what our offshore consumers will want to see on their plate and in their diet, that may well have implications for the way that our existing farming systems are structured with more diverse land use options. And that may well address some of the issues that we're currently seeing surfacing in the press and in the public domain around things like environmental quality, water quality, and so on. So a more diverse landscape with combinations of animals and plants growing may well end up creating better options for us in the future for the environment.
Just a couple of other quick questions before we go. Māori, taking an increasing role in this sector as I understand it.
Yes, it's a very interesting space to watch this one, and we're doing some work on that right at the moment. Māori agribusiness is being very innovative at the moment, and it's thinking about what the future options might be. A new entrant, new opportunities, with capital, and a new opportunity to actually invest in quite innovative things without being locked into existing land uses. So that's very much a watch this space, and a very sophisticated approach to food with a lot of attention to offshore markets, to digital marketing and so on as part of the strategy there. Very interesting.
And native plants, is there any scope there? It's been talked about for many years. Any progress?
Well, again, it's been talked about for a long time, but the world changes around us, and there could well be opportunities for developing new horticultural crops from our indigenous flora. Again, a space that Maori will be very heavily involved in and have very significant interest in, to be able to develop a wider range of horticultural products. There's no reason to think that our existing offerings of fruit and vegetables are the optimum. We're in a journey historically on that, and there may well be new types of foods and new designs for foods that will come in the future that will create a completely different horticultural landscape and add value around what we're doing. Very interesting to watch and see.
Oh, certainly. Look, Bruce, thank you very much for your time today. That's been hugely enlightening. Good luck, and all the best for your work with what is, as I say, a fascinating sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Roger. Great to talk to you.
This interview was brought to you in association with Rabobank.